I've never had one this close. Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Workshop, where everything's just a piece of cake. Oh my gosh. That close to not making it on time here. I mean, like, we were down to the last second, literally. It's just, you have no idea what the stress is behind the camera. I'm just hoping it's even working. That's just how stressful it's been this morning. Well, I see somebody pop up there, so it must be working. I'm hoping that I'm actually coming out live, so you'll have to let me know that. I've got a whole new computer. Everything's different. And it probably looks a little different too, because I can't get a bit wider field on this morning for some reason. So it's a very tight field, different than it's been. Anyway, it's just been a rush job. I've been out here since about 6:25, something like that, working on this, and I thought I had it ready to go. But you know how the Rosa thing is. It's like it's never ready. And so anyway, I think we're okay, but you'll just have to bear with me. Yesterday, I had some visitors pop in the shop, and they were from Minnesota, as a matter of fact. So take a look at this video.
Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here. Wanted to show you a project that just walked through the door by way of Minnesota. We've got David White standing here. David, step over this way just a little bit where I can get you on camera just a little bit. There he is. Gotcha. So, what do you know about this guitar? How long have you owned it?
That's part of the problem this morning.
Since 1966. So you've been friends with this thing a long time, haven't you? Well, it's pretty good shape for the shape it's in. You know, when you get them that old, there's always something. I've already looked it all over really well. There was a couple of loose braces in there. There was one little crack down the middle here that wasn't glued, and we fixed that. And what we're trying to do now is make the intonation perfect. And what I did was, because the intonation was off by only like 5 points, I just widened the saddle slot and moved the saddle slot back just a little bit so that I can put a little bit wider saddle in here. Now, it's not going to be really crazy wide. It's still only going to be about 1/8 of an inch wide. So that's not a real wide saddle. And yeah, but that will also give me the ability to intonate it properly and get the notes exactly right. So that's where we're headed. We've already done a light fret dressing on this, and the frets are looking pretty good, as you can see. But we're almost ready to string it up. I just got to make a saddle yet, and we'll get that going. We'll come back with it and show you what it sounds like here in just a minute. Well, my friends, this thing fought me every inch of the way. It said, no, I ain't gonna intonate. I don't care what you do. Well, I said, I don't give up that easy. So I just kept trying, and finally I put a little bit of a piece of bone behind the main bone to get that E string to intonate perfectly. All 6 strings hit dead center on the needle now. And it was just, I tried everything I could to get it to work on the saddle by itself, but it just needed more of an angle. You know, this is one of those bridges that just needs more angle, and that's just what it amounts to. And sure, you could take off and put a whole new bridge on it and cut a custom angle and all that, but it would take hours and hours and hours to do all that. And this only took a few minutes, a little longer than I expected, but it only took a few minutes comparatively. So it sounds really good. It's got a real good sound. Can't hardly beat it. About as good as it gets. So David White's off camera here. Are you happy, David?
Yeah.
He says
Very
he's happy.
pleased.
Well, good. I didn't want to, I got it close on the original saddle, but he drove from Minnesota. I didn't want it just close, so I felt like we deserved perfect if you're going to come that far. So thanks, David, for coming that far.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Well, as that video was playing, I was reading the comments here, and some Bruce out in Mississippi says the video quality is not nearly as good as it's been. That's yeah. I don't know why, because I think I have it set the same way as far as I can tell. Someone else said that the squeeze down screen isn't the best, and it's buffering. The sound is bad. My gosh, there's not one thing right today. That's sad. I really have tried very hard. I can't even tell you how hard I've tried. I'm going to turn the gain up here on the mic. I don't even know why all that would change, other than just the fact that the computer handles it differently. I don't know. I'm very disappointed with that, but it's just is what it is, as we say. We'll just have to go with it this morning, and I'll try to work on it and make it better for next week. I really didn't think it was going to be an issue, but obviously it is. We have a visitor here this morning with me from St. Louis, and his name is Dr. Jim Spadaro, and Jim has brought his weapon. Come on over here, Jim. And what have you got there? What are you holding?
This is a mandolin that I made at a workshop at Mark Adams School of Woodworking.
Yeah.
It has a.
Let's hold it up there and show it to him. Give him a good close look.
It's Adirondack spruce for the top, and then
There's the peg head,
and it's
fretboard.
and the fretboard is ebony, and then it's Claro walnut for the back and sides, which is kind of interesting. It gives it a woodier tone. It doesn't have quite as bright a sound as you get typically with the walnut, but I like it, and it's a good one. So.
You know, I haven't even tuned mine this morning. I've been so busy working on trying to get the show to even work. Oh, you would not believe how many things went wrong this morning. It's just, I couldn't even tell you. I would guess it in the couple of dozen. Someone says, Joseph O'Brien from Tara, Ireland says the sound and picture are perfect. Good morning from Simo. It's working good enough. Okay, well, we'll just have to go with that. I'm not real happy about the smaller frame, and I tried everything I could think of this morning to change that, and it just wouldn't change. So I'm sorry you can't see our instruments right now because it's just the way it is, and I can turn the camera down just a little bit itself, and that'll help a little bit. And cut the tops of our heads off maybe a little bit. I don't know. It's just really difficult. We'll just try that a little bit. So we thought we might try to play something. I've got the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human here. I don't mean to outclass Jim or anything, but
But you did.
and for those of you who might just be tuning in for the first time, that's just a joke. I was just making light of it during the whole video thing, and that was my goal, was to try to build the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human, and everyone should have that as their
Jerry,
goal.
I have to show the people. See, this is the real deal right here. See, you've got like all this inlay that, having done this one, I can tell you, this is like in the unbelievable class. I mean, that is so much fine workmanship. I can't believe it. And then he's got all of the inlays all the way around the binding and everything else. And then in the headstock, I don't even know how he did this. He's got his laser geared up. My headstock, as you notice, is very plain. In fact, one of these days, I'm going to have a little cover for the truss rod, but I haven't gotten up enough ambition to do that yet. But Jerry's work is just absolutely superb, and the detail is just unbelievable. Just to give credit where credit's due.
Well, thank you very much. I've been pretty darn happy with it so far. I don't regret not selling it, even though I had a huge offer. I really did. And I don't know, I should have my head examined for not selling it, but I just didn't want to build another one with my hands. And by the way, this morning, because I was so involved getting the show ready, I didn't have any time to warm up on the mandolin at all. And so Jim and we had like 3 minutes left. And so we ran through a song really fast, and I couldn't bend my fingers. I mean, I literally couldn't bend them. They're not hurting so much today, but I can't bend them. And so you're not going to hear much out of me. I really just can barely get them to bend. Well, anyway, there you go. Let's see here. Let's pick a tune. We haven't really practiced anything, so we did run through a little bit of Kentucky Waltz, and we ran through just a little bit of what was the other
Old
one?
Joe Clark.
Old Joe Clark. So let's try Kentucky Waltz, huh? Why don't you start us off? Fake it till you make it. Here I go. So I guess it was the Tennessee Waltz, huh? Sorry about that. Yeah, there you go. I think that might be the first time I ever tried to play that in G. We typically play that one out of D, I think. And then the one Kentucky Waltz is what I was thinking that it was going to be, because we didn't have time to run through these, trust me. And Kentucky waltz for me, which is really unusual for everybody else, but I play it in E, like Edward. So when he went to G this morning on this waltz, I thought, well, man, that's going to be really weird to transpose that, you know. But anyway,
I knew you could do it, Jerry.
We
I
got
knew you
through
could
it.
do I just knew it was going to work.
we got through it anyway. Yeah. Well, when it comes to mandolin playing, almost anybody's got me beat. I don't
want to hear that. That's absolutely not true.
Well,
That's
it's
absolutely not
pretty much true from my perspective. I'm like the typist that does the hunting and pecking. That's how I play. I just guess and just jump wherever I think I got to go, and that's how I play.
But you land pretty like when the cooks that look, I gotta tell the people like when cooks say, "Look, I just threw this together." Well, Jerry throws things together, but he has really good aim. Don't let him fool you.
I get close. I get in the ballpark sometimes.
All the time.
Well, thank you. Let's try. I don't know. Let's try old Joe Clark. Now I think we both do this one out of A, so at least I don't have any excuses on this one. I don't know. I got through it. I felt like mine was out of tune all the way. Yeah, I was out of tune on my A almost the whole time. Oh well, it is what it is. My wife just came in, opened the door, hung something on the door that I cannot see from here. I have no idea what it is. So Jim's going over to pick it up. Oh my goodness. I like it. Very jammy. Yeah, extremely jammy. Oh my gosh, here's a rose. Jerry, $100 if you know where this is growing. In the ground. I just got $100. There you go. I have no idea. Apparently she found a wild rose growing somewhere on the farm. I have no idea. She trying to trick me up. Actually, I've seen a lot of wild roses growing on our farm. Most of them are not red, though, I don't think. I think most of them are actually yellow. I'm not even sure I'm in tune. By the way, in case it matters to you, the microphone's over here, and my mandolin's pointed away from the microphone. So I don't know if there was a difference in sound, and he was pointed a little more toward the microphone there. So it may have been that we weren't very mixed, and if that's probably the reason. Okay, let's see. Someone says their wireless Starlink is picking up real good. So Starlink to Starlink now we're talking. Okay, let's play something else. I don't know. We haven't practiced anything. What you heard there, we practiced like 30 seconds of each of those tunes, so we really haven't had any practice. Can we think of anything else we can play together?
Yeah. Let's see. Do you want to do a Bill Monroe tune?
We can try, I guess. You know me, I'm more. I don't actually play that many instrumentals, believe it or not. You would think I'd play more, but I mostly do vocals and stuff in our band. But what's the tune?
You want to do Bluegrass Special?
We can give it a try. I don't know.
Whatever you want.
What key you do it in? If you do it in G, I'll at least have a chance.
A.
What key you do it in?
A.
You do it in A?
Yeah.
All right, A's okay. I can screw it up in any key. It doesn't really matter.
Ready?
Yeah, I'll try it.
Okay. There you go.
Well, there you go. we got through that one.
Yeah.
I did see the comment of the year over here though, from my buddy Jesse Burge down there in Texas. He says, "Sorry I'm late. My sow is having little pigs." There you go. That's comment of the year right there. Let's see. Okay, I'm just reading to see if there's any other ones there. Growing in a manure pile. I thought he was talking about our playing. I guess he's talking about this. I hope he was. Anyway, when I first read it, I thought, well, that's rude. Red Wing. Yes, we'll do Red Wing. You know, this was actually, I shouldn't even say this because you would think I'd play it better. But this was actually the very, very, very first tune I ever learned on a mandolin. And the only reason I learned that tune was because I had heard my uncle, Don Brown, and the Ozark Mountain Trio on stage. And after I heard him, I went and bought a cheap mandolin at Kmart, and I learned to play this tune. So that's the true story, and it was a long, long, long time ago. And you would really think I'd know how to play it well. Not so much. I just do what I do. Well, I got through most of it. Hit a few, fat fingered a few things, but there we go. Two things. First of all, he brought another mandolin that we're going to look at here on camera, and we might even see if we can fix some of it on camera. You just never know. Yep, while he's getting that, I wanted to show you my t-shirt here. This says, what would Jerry do? Now, that's not being conceited from my perspective, because this was given to me as a gift, and it was given to me by John Mirage. And John Mirage he holds the all-time record for recording in my studio. He recorded more tunes in my studio than anybody over about a 12 or 15 year period. And anyway, he bought me 25 of these t-shirts. I gave away most of them to my grandkids and stuff because I didn't want to be thought of as being, I don't know, conceited or something, trying to sell them on my website, but whatever.
Can I tell the story of this mandolin?
Sure.
Okay.
He's got a mandolin here. He's going to tell you all about it.
This is the first mandolin that I ever owned, and it was made by Alan Jones. And Alan Jones was actually, he's deceased, so I guess I can mention that he was a patient of mine. And what happened was, so he walked in the office one day and he said, I'd like for you to sign a work release for me to work at Gibson Mandolin in Nashville, Tennessee. And I said, well, why are you gonna move there? He says, well, I make mandolins, but I can't, I can make more money with Gibson. So I said, okay. So I said, and here's where joking gets you. I was joking. I said, you're not going to leave before you make one of those for me, are you? And he said, I don't have time to make one from scratch, but I can sell you a demo. So I bought the demo and I learned how to play it. And this was the first one that I got. But I was minding my own business, and I met Jerry in St. Louis at one of the music stores there at a jam. And then I got a job here at Phelps County, and I was sitting in Panera's, minding my own business, eating, and listening to Jerry and friends play some music. And so Jerry says, don't I know you from someplace? And I said, I was trying to crawl into the woodwork, but it didn't work. So Jerry's not one to let things go very easily. So he says, don't you play the mandolin? I said, yes. And he said, do you have it? I said, yes. And he said, go get it. And so the next thing you know, I'm there trying to figure out how to play in an ensemble with Jerry and company at Panera's.
I had forgotten all about that. How long ago was that? About 10 years ago or so?
Oh, more than that. It's like 2000. Yeah, well, yeah. I guess it was like, about 10 years ago. Yeah, about 10 years ago. Yeah.
Must have been, yeah. Because you haven't been playing all that long. I mean,
2007. That's when it started.
Okay.
Yeah. But Jerry put up with more. I got to tell you about Jerry. He put up with more stuff, and he was more patient. And I remember one time I was sitting there playing, and I was playing this break, and it was sounding pretty good to me. So I just kept playing, and I didn't know why everybody was staring at me, including Jerry. Like, don't you know you get 2 rounds of it, and then you got to quit? But I didn't have any better sense, so I kept playing. But that's how you learn, I guess. But Jerry was just absolutely supportive and wonderful, and just really opened up another whole avenue for me.
Unlike my normal personality, I was trying to be patient with him.
So can I go?
Yeah, go ahead and talk about it.
Well, this mandolin actually had a problem, and that is that whenever you go to string it up, you'd set the bridge there. The only problem was the fretboard did not line up with the tail pin. So the difficulty was you'd have to artificially slide it to one side in order for it to lock in place and for the strings to line up so you could play it. And so the other problem with the mandolin was that Alan had put on a French polish finish. And I actually took a class in French polishing, and I did a redo of this, but it still didn't come out right. So the French polish was not laid on quite effectively enough. So I'm going to redo it, but in redoing it, the plan would be, there we are, to go ahead and take the pin out and then slide this over and fill in the gaps and then drill another hole. The expertise, which I do not have, but Jerry does in ample amounts. So that's what I brought this to him for here. If you wanna.
Well, let's look at it and kind of analyze it. You know, when you look at it's actually got the opposite problem of what he's saying. I mean, he's correct. Don't get me wrong, but it's actually got a little different problem when I first look at it. The problem
That's
is,
what I'm here for, folks.
yeah, it's not. I'm not really contradicting what he's saying, because what he's saying is true, but there's more to it than that, I guess, is what I'm saying. And the first thing I notice, you see the seam. Whoops, the camera's backwards. See the seam right here? You notice it doesn't come out to this point. It's over on. It's on this side of the point. Look at that. And so there's where your first problem comes out. It's like a 1/4 inch to that side. So the body line is not straight to begin with. And that's what's weird about this. And then, so what he did was, when this wasn't straight here, then he went ahead and put this on straight to this here, and that's why it's off. You know, you can see that this does kind of line up with the
Right.
center there, but it doesn't line up with the neck. And the reason it doesn't is because the neck doesn't line up with the center joint. So it's kind of a multiple issue there. Let's see if we can figure out, like if we're looking right down the center, and I'm just kind of guessing about center here on this, because he doesn't have actual dots that I can line up very easily. But if you look at it like this, and I think I can hold it and show you, I'll have to turn it this way. You can see that it's basically covering up most of the tailpiece, because you can see the tailpiece is off that much by the center of the neck. It's pretty obvious the tailpiece is off, as Jim says. But yeah, it's about this, after we're done fixing it, is that the tailpiece is going to be on this side of the line, and the neck is on that side of the line. It really looks like a fine little mandolin otherwise, but it's just that. It's just odd like that. But anyway, by the way, I knew Alan Jones too. He was a nice fella. He's a good banjo picker, especially. He was a really good banjo picker, and was decent on mandolin. I really never heard him play mandolin much, even though he built mandolins, which I thought was very odd. He was a banjo player, and everybody knew him as a banjo player, but he built mandolins. Why did he do that? I don't know. You would have thought he would have built banjos, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, but I like this. I like the pearl cover there too. Really looks nice. But the mandolin itself looks really nice, other than that center line thing. So that's going to be a bit more than I can tackle on camera here, I think, especially with the kind of camera setup I have this morning. And I would like to do it live, but I'll show it on video. We'll do some video of it, and I'll either put it in a daily vlog or we'll make it its own video, one of the two. So we will get to it. Why don't we play one more tune, and then we'll do questions and answers. Let me check my tuning this time. That's a little closer. Might sound like there's less of us picking this time. It may only sound like only 2 people picking instead of 4. You got something else you can lay on us? Something that I can actually play? Let's try something else. Let's try something else other than that. Yeah, what is that one?
Salt Creek.
Salt Creek. Yeah, let's try Salt Creek. I don't know. I've played it before. Come slide over this way a little bit.
Okay.
I've played Salt Creek a few times. Will you do it in A, I guess? That's where everybody generally does it. All right, let's give it a shot. Well, I didn't know where we were going there, but
I didn't either,
we stopped about the same time. Oh my goodness. That's killing me. Haven't been playing all that long. Yeah, is that a long time? I don't know. That doesn't seem like a very long time to me, considering I started playing about 1983. And he's already caught up with me, so and passed me on a lot of things. He can play a lot of the Bill Monroe tunes like Bill Monroe plays them. I can't do any of that. I just play like I play, and I can't play like anybody else at all. At all. Why don't we play on each other's mandolins? Okie dokie. Let's try that. We've done this once before, I think. At a jam on the front porch of the Wildflower down in Mountain View. I think we switched mandolins for a minute. Let's see. Would I be stretching you too far if I played Kentucky Waltz in E?
No, yeah, you would be. No.
Because nobody plays it in E hardly. I learned to play it in E because of Kenny Baker. He played it in E on his fiddle album. But
Well, I mean, we
you
could
want
do
to
that.
try it or not?
We could do like.
I don't want to embarrass you because I mean it's hard to do. You know,
No, we can. I mean, we can try it.
give it a try.
Yeah.
I messed it up. That's all I got. I don't even know why I do this. I do it so poorly most of the time. But I give it a try. I like doing it. It's fun. I just can't do it very well. Boy, I tell you what, after having Kim Warner here in the shop, that guy from Australia, it's like I'm embarrassed to ever play again. He was so good on that mandolin. It was incredible. Please explain the two different mandolin body styles. Well, this one is this style, and this one is this style. There's not much difference other than the looks. It's mostly looks. The body cavity is approximately the same size. The scroll was put on by Lloyd Lohr. Actually, it was really Orville Gibson even before that, but Lloyd Lohr kind of, I don't know if I would call it even modernized it, or just, he's the one that, I don't know, he made it famous on the F5 style mandolin, let's put it that way, and he added these body points and things, and then I added this extra little body point here on this one just for a little bit of flair, plus Orville Gibson actually did that on some of his mandolins, and there's been others that have done it too, but their point is usually down here a little further. I wanted it up here, and the reason is I didn't want it to interfere with my case, and I just thought it looked more stylish there. I don't know, it just looked better to me there. I didn't try to copy anybody when I did that. I just made up my own design on that.
Now this is actually functional, wouldn't you say, Jerry? This keeps it from sliding around on your leg.
Yeah, the function of that extra point there is to poke a hole in your leg.
Poke a hole in it.
That's pretty much what it does too.
But the A style does tend to bounce around.
Yeah, well, maybe so, yeah. But really, there's not much difference in terms of sound or anything like that. One advantage these have is that left-handed players can play them a little easier and set them up a little different. Even though they're not, technically, I guess you'd almost say you'd want to carve them differently, and you'd put your braces in differently, because the braces don't run exactly parallel in there. So technically, if you were going to make a left-handed one, you would want to do your braces a little different. But for the most part, left-handed pickers can turn these over, put a left-handed nut on them, and string them left-handed, and they're good to go, you know. So that's one advantage to the A style, where turning this one upside down and playing it is not exactly the easiest thing to do. But that's, there's not that many differences, really. It's just mostly looks. Let's see. Small amount of buffering. Someone said this one's really powerful sounding, and it is a really loud, hard driving mandolin. It really is. I'm really happy with it overall. I took a lot of extra time. Now this one is carved exactly to the size of the 1924 Lloyd Lohr mandolin that I took apart. In terms of all the sweet spots and all the thicknesses and even the body cavity size, all of that, I carved it to the 1,000th of an inch, as precise as I could carve it. And I got it pretty dang close, I got to tell you. It's so I'm pretty happy with it. And that mandolin, people, I don't mean this to sound like a brag, but people always make the same comment. Boy, why are your mandolins so loud? I mean, your mandolin is really loud. I can hear your mandolin all over the campground, that kind of thing. And the truth is that I copied them after one of the loudest Lloyd Loar mandolins I've ever heard. And I carve them exactly like that mandolin. So, I guess there's something to that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's my theory on it. I don't feel like there's any great magic to it. It's just that I carve it exactly like that mandolin. How did you finish and sand the mandolin behind the scroll? Finish and sand the mandolin behind the scroll. You mean down inside in here,
Yeah.
I guess? You don't really. There's just not much finish or sanding going on down in there. Now I take round files and go in there and clean it up and get it as smooth as I can, but there's really no finishing going on inside there. I'll stain it in there so that it doesn't look white or odd color. I stain it to match or stain it dark or whatever, but there's really no actual finish going on down in there. How do you finish and sand the mandolin? Oh, okay. Yeah, if anybody has other questions, it's time for questions and answers. And I see another one here. Please, okay. Well, I think we've answered all the questions I see so far. Here's one up here above. Yeah, well, we did that one too. Okay, I think I've covered most of the questions. I'm just scrolling up to see if there's any other questions that were put in early. But if you have questions, go ahead and put those in there now. And it can be about this today, what we're doing today, or it can be about anything else. It doesn't matter. Okay, I don't see any other ones. I'm going to scroll back down and see if there's anything else pops up. Otherwise, we may just play another tune. Okay, here's one. Oops. Why did that scroll like that? Jerry, can I shave off some of plastic bar on bridge from the bottom like I've seen you do, reduce string height on an acoustic? Shave off some of plastic bar on bridge. Are you talking about the saddle itself is you're talking about a guitar, right? So you're talking about the saddle. If the saddle's plastic, yeah, you can shave the bottom of it off just like I do on a bone saddle or whatever. There shouldn't be any problem there, taking it off the bottom, if that's what you're asking. Do you have a favorite brand of strings to get your sound? Well, Jeff, the truth is for me, on almost any instrument, I like, well, not a violin, but on most other stringed instruments, and probably not a banjo. I like phosphor bronze strings. I don't like coated strings, honestly. Coated strings to me, and I can definitely hear the difference, especially when I put them on side by side here on my bench. I can definitely hear a difference in the coated sound. The coated sound sounds a little bit muted, muffled from day one. They last a long time. So they last a long time. That part's good. But they always have that slightly muffled sound. I much prefer the phosphor bronze, just plain old phosphor bronze strings. And it doesn't really matter too much the maker, whether it's GHS or Diodario or Martin or whatever. If they're phosphor bronze and the gauges are the same, I don't hear much difference at that point, as long as those two things are the same. The trick is that a lot of times they change little things here and there, and then you'll hear a difference. But for me, phosphor bronze. Now, having said that, I really push the GHS LS250s on a I don't know how to say it without sounding smug, but on a cheaper mandolin or on a mandolin that has the thinner, tinnier sound, if you're trying to get it to sound more woody, then the LS250s will accomplish that. Now, I actually like the sound of them on my own mandolins too. The only reason I don't play them, and I am being totally honest with you on this, I'm not kidding you about this. The only reason I don't play them is because the serving on them is softer and I press crazy hard. Probably the reason I have arthritis in my hands. But I press really hard on the strings. I shouldn't do that, but I do. And I can't stop myself. And I dent the strings up so bad in no time at all that that's the reason I don't play them. But otherwise, I really like the sound of those LS250s too. They really will bring the woodiness out of your instrument. Okay, that was the question on the strings. Why is the nut called a nut? Jim, I'm going to turn that one over to you. I have no idea. You got, okay, go ahead, Jim.
I'm finished with my comments.
Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I've even thought the same thing myself. This thing keeps scrolling. I think what it is, I think the round wheel gets locked in or something on this thing. Okay, who gave you the T-shirt? That was John Mirage. I thought I mentioned his name earlier, but maybe I didn't. But John Mirage is the fellow that gave me these T-shirts. He gave me like 25 of them, like I said, and I gave them out to my grandkids at Christmas time, so they'd have them, you know. And I kept a couple of 2 or 3 to wear myself. Let's see. Tom Colhane. Jerry, does your buddy play with you regularly? You sound very good together. Oh, he's just that kind of guy. He's an expert. No, we do jam every once in a while. I mean, we don't get together that often anymore because he's up in St. Louis. But when he was working here at the local Rolla Hospital, he was... he would come to our weekly jams and stuff, so we used to jam together quite a bit, but it's been a while. Alan Dust, can you explain your process and just ballpark dimensions for building your laminated guitar neck? Well, it's not very complicated the way I do it. You know, on the, it's same as I do it on the mandolin, so I can kind of show you here on the mandolin. But, you know, the outer 2 pieces are solid, you know, whatever wood I'm using. Usually the same, well, I shouldn't say usually. On a guitar, it's not, but on a mandolin, it's usually the same wood I'm using on the back and sides. On a guitar, most of the time I go to mahogany or something like that, just for the weight. It's a little lighter. But I have built, and the first guitar I built, and the one I still own, I have built it with a Paduk neck. So it had the same as the back and the sides on the neck of the guitar. The only difference with that is that it gets a little heavier. But on the other hand, that kind of gives it more sustain too. Typically when you have a heavier, stronger neck, you'll get a little more sustain. Well, anyway, my little, you know, I've done it... Well, I can't even tell you the number of different ways that I've done the actual laminations. I've done them so many different ways. I've laminated them with just one single strip down the middle. I've done that. I've done it with 3 laminations. And this one here does have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laminations. And I think so it's a 7-piece neck, if you will, through here. So I think that's the most I've ever done is the 5, and I've done that on several mandolins actually. And I used to make those laminations a little wider, and I got to the point where I make them pretty narrow now. I think they just look more stylish narrow. So I think they're, well, I don't know exactly how wide they are, but I think they're right around 100 thousandths or even a little less. I'll see if I can give you a better ballpark idea. But I think they're... Actually, I think they're less. Yeah, these are quite a bit less, I think. These are about 50 thousandths. So these laminations are about 50 thousandths. So when you have 5 of them times 50, that's 250 thousandths. It's a 1/4 inch. So I'm sure that's what I did. So yeah, that's right. So that whole lamination width there is a 1/4 inch. So I fit 5 pieces into that. Now, how did I glue them together? Well, I used the vacuum pressing system's vacuum bag. That's just night and day different than trying to use clamps. Night and day different. It's so good. I can't even tell you how good it is. The guy gave it to me. I just want to be clear about this. I contacted him. I said, hey, I've got a YouTube channel and I do a lot of this. If you'll supply me with one of those, I'll talk it up. Now, fully knowing at the time that I was expecting it to be really good, because I don't talk up stuff unless it's good. It's way better than I even expected. I mean, it really is. Those vacuum systems are just killer for gluing flat things. They're not necessarily that great for gluing odd-shaped things or whatever. I mean, although I think they work on those kinds of things. But on flat things, they just kick. I mean, like you put things together and then it sucks all the air out of it, and it's got the atmospheric pressure pressing them together, and there's nothing better. So gluing those laminates together, I recommend a vacuum pressing system. You can definitely do it, and I did dozens of them with just clamps. You can definitely do it with clamps, but if you want to do it the easy way, the vacuum pressing systems is the way to go on that.
Now, Jerry, you don't, just for the audience's sake, you don't use truss rods, is that right?
Well, I do. I do put a lot of truss rods in. Most of my mandolins have truss rods. Okay. I did not put one in this one because I didn't feel it's necessary. I've built several mandolins for myself that I've never put a truss rod in, and I've never, not one single time, ever had a problem.
Do you think the laminates help give it structure this way? So
definitely, that's the main reason I do laminates. There's two, well, maybe three reasons. At least two main reasons that I use laminates. First of all, it is structure for strength, but it's strength in more than just one way. It's strength in the fact that it keeps the neck from twisting. See, if you have one solid piece of wood, as a neck dries out over time, it can twist, it can do whatever it feels like doing because of the nature of the wood. When you interrupt that with the laminates, it can no longer do that. So it adds strength also, because if you stop and think about it, why do they put plywood on the corners of buildings? They put right on the very corner. They might put fiberboard or anything else in the middle, but on the corners. Now, this was the old time way of building. Nowadays, they put OSB over the whole thing, which is even stronger. But in the old days, they would put plywood right on the corners, and then they would put some kind of like a fiberboard insulation board through the rest of the wall. And the plywood gave it the strength because it's laminated and it can't rack, it can't bend, it's impossible. And so that's the way this is. It can't rack, it can't bend when you put those laminates in there, and especially if you don't put a truss rod in it, because when you put the truss rod in it, you're cutting 80% of it away, and so when you don't put a truss rod in it, it just can't really go anywhere. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it, and it's proved me right so far.
You've never had a problem.
Never ever had a problem with one I've done this way.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you put 5 laminations in there, it's not going anywhere. It's like your fine, what is that birch plywood that costs so much money, that with the real fine laminations, it's like that. That stuff's good stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, I beat on that enough. I think that explains what you ask, so we'll move on to the next question. Let's see. Why do your facial expressions change when you're playing an instrument? Well, I can't control it. It's something, I seriously, I can't even tell I'm doing it. I can't tell it. I even look in a mirror and I cannot stop myself from doing it in a mirror. And it's totally involuntary. It's a muscle thing, and I can't help it. So sorry, you just have to live with it. It's embarrassing as hell. I wish I didn't do it, but I do it. So there you go. Hit the like button, someone says. Thank you. I appreciate that. I have asked over 10 guitar makers and get the same answers. I do not know. Thanks, Mr. Rosa. You're talking about the nut, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it's called a nut. There's a lot of things in just mechanical things that have a nut, so I don't know. It's just a place to hold something, I guess. I don't know. I don't see any more new questions popping up. We're out of time. We're at 9 o'clock, so let's just play one more tune and we'll call it good. I don't even know what we're going to play. I have no idea.
John Henry or something simple?
Yeah, John Henry sounds good. What key are we going to do that in?
Okay, G.
G? Okay. I think we're through playing now. I was busy reading questions here. Someone says, "You didn't see my question above." JJ, but he did say, he also chimed in with me and said, many musicians make facial changes or mouth changes during a performance. You know, and I noticed it a lot with mandolin players, believe it or not. I really have. I've watched a lot of mandolin players, and a lot of mandolin players do it. But JJ, I'm not sure I see your question. I don't know where it is. I'm scrolling back up and I see your initials and they show up pretty obvious, but I don't see a JJ question unless it's way at the top. So you may have to post it again real quick if you want me to answer it, because I don't know what it is. Sorry. Yeah, I don't intentionally miss any questions. If I don't, you need to put question marks in front of your question and behind it so I can find it, because they're hard to find. I apologize in advance. I have a baby Taylor guitar and I would like to smooth out the factory finish. What would you recommend? I'd recommend a new guitar. Changing finishes is a pain in the neck. It really is. I am not a finish guy. I really don't even like to answer questions about finish, because the finish is the hardest part of it, in my opinion. Building the instrument for me is almost a piece of cake. It's like a second nature. But getting them to have a beautiful finish, that's really hard to do. I can achieve it pretty well on most instruments, especially if I use lacquer. Now, this one I'm using an oil varnish. It's much more difficult, but I'll get it eventually. That's the next thing I'm going to do to this one, is work on the finish. I knew that when I strung it up. I strung it up ahead of time. I wasn't ready. I wasn't really finished with the finish. But I'm not a good expert on that, so I'm not even going to try. Unless, Jim, do you have any ideas about finish?
Just that it's complicated. I've taken several courses in finishing, and there's a huge variety of ways that people approach it.
Yeah.
And it can be equipment and technique intense. and it's something you have to take seriously. Actually, John Ressler, who teaches the class on mandolin making at Mark Adams, doesn't do any finishing. He sends that off and he concentrates just on the woodworking.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to pick your poison, I think, my opinion. I don't know.
20 some years ago, about 20 years ago, roughly, maybe might have been more, I don't know. I asked a guy what he would charge me to do the finishes on my mandolins if I gave them to them ready to finish. You know, I mean, in other words, I've already done all the detailing. And it was at that time, over 20 years ago, it was $1,500. And I was thinking, I was only, at that time, I think I was only selling them for like $2,500 or $3,000, somewhere in there. And I was like, I don't think so, you know. So I just didn't do it. So I'm sure it's a lot more now, you know. Okay, I'm going to take one or two more questions here, and I still don't see JJ's question. Sorry, JJ. You carve your mandolins the same as the 24 Gibson, but do you use the same type of wood? Yes, I do, actually. Well, I do for the top. I use the Adirondack spruce. Now, the back on this one is, instead of curly maple, which would be the norm, I used quilted maple, which is what they call a big leaf maple. But otherwise, I mean, even that's pretty darn similar. It's not very different at all. Maple's maple, sort of, kind of. I mean, there's differences, don't get me wrong, I understand that. But this one had the quilted pattern, and that's why I wanted to use this instead of just this typical pattern. But ordinarily, I do use the normal stuff. Build a lot of them that way. In fact, I built him a mandolin too, didn't I?
Right, you sure did, yep.
Somebody asked me, I know they're being ignorant, asked me what my favorite hide glue is. You jerk! Was his mandolin built with hide glue?
This one, no.
No, no, it wasn't hide glue either. There you go.
Type bond.
So, yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you, Toby. My gosh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that super chat. I really, really, really appreciate it. JJ's, okay, there's his question. He's putting like 50 question marks in front of it so I don't miss it this time. My question was about the sound difference between the F holes and the oval holes. Okay. Well, I've had that question a lot over the years, and yeah, there's a difference on that. The round hole mandolins typically, now I'm not necessarily saying his, there's different kinds of round, there's different, oh, that one has F holes. Yeah, a lot of the A styles have round holes. And, you know, more so than the F styles. There are some F styles with the round hole also. But in most cases, at least to my ear, what I hear is more of a tremolo-y sound. In other words, you'd want to play songs like, I can't even play that, but you know, Somewhere My Love. You'd want to play music like that on those round hole type mandolins. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that's not necessarily the hard driving sound that you get with the F holes for the bluegrass. And that's what you prefer on bluegrass. Now, do some people play the round holes in bluegrass? Sure they do. But typically they don't have the punch or the drive that the F holes have. So the F holes has a little bit pushier, harder sound, if you will, I guess, and the oval hole has the fluffier, lighter sound, or the just
mellow.
Mellow. I mean, it's
a don't you think it's a parlor kind of thing?
It's kind of a parlor sound. Yeah. You know, those kinds of songs sound really pretty. They sound nice on these too, but they sound really pretty on the oval hole. So I mean, that's my differences. That's my take on it, and that's the best explanation I got. Well, we're about 12 minutes past an hour here, so I thank you all for tuning in this morning. It looks like we're down to 154 viewers at the moment. I think we were up over 160 for a while there. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining in. I'm sorry about the little technical difficulties that we have had today. I will continue to try to improve it. you know, I keep changing things from week to week, and now with the new computer in here, you know, it changed everything. It changed more things than I expected, and boy, I was scrambling to get this going this morning. I didn't think I was even going to make it, and I made it with about 30 seconds to spare, literally.
It's true.
So thank you very, very kindly. We'll see you next week, or probably see you Monday on a vlog. Goodbye.